Hi guys, a little rock and roll in the kitchen. Nothing wrong with that, that's for sure. But let me turn it down a little. Oh yeah, I do like rock and roll. That's for sure. I grew up, when I grew up, the Beatles were still releasing new albums. People we'd sit around and say, "Oh yeah, next week the Beatles are going to have a new album," and like Elvis Presley was still making music, and it was a golden age of rock and roll, though. That's for sure. I really feel very fortunate to grow up at that time. When it comes to music, that's for sure. When it comes to a lot of things. I mean, our biggest problem was getting a cold, catching the flu. I got to turn this down. I got to turn this off. I'll turn that off because that definitely distracts me. It takes me back. Well, I'm just saying, like when I was younger, it's like the worst thing you get is you get a comgy, you get a cold, you get a flu, and then school now. Once again, we're still doing this face-to-face stuff. Now I know this is an English class, and what I did, this is a book. I took the pages out and scanned them, and we're going to be doing it until you guys get the book or we meet face-to-face. We're going to be doing it this way, and I figured, well, I'm looking through this, and at the end of this video, I'll go through this whole list of what's on these chapters. But a lot of it has to do with equipment, names of things, stuff like that. So what I figured I might as well do is just do a live presentation on names. Now I know most of you guys, and you, especially you, Kevin, out there, you got a good grasp of all these things. It's really no problem for you. But I don't see why not. I don't see why we don't do it this way. You still get the vocabulary, and I'll do some light cooking. Sometimes we talk about equipment, dolma, cutting board. I don't know the Korean name for this. All right, it's steel, sharpening steel. But instead of just talking about it, using it. Same thing. I got some chicken in the water. I don't have a lot of food items here that we're going to prepare, but I'm looking around. I got some chicken, I got some potatoes, I got some chili seasoning, and we can always work out something. You can always a clever chef or a good chef can always look in an empty refrigerator and see dinner, and there's always stuff around. That's for sure. So I got enough for that, and we can once again we can do all these points. Excuse me if I'm drinking water. I'm a little dry. It's been hot today, that's for sure. Today, you're going to see this tomorrow. It's been windy in Busan, that's for sure. Everybody's telling me that. They're going to, excuse me, I'll be drinking a lot of water throughout this presentation only because I am a little dry throat, which I hopefully is nothing. But I had 2 vaccinations, so everything should be fine in that aspect. So let's talk a little about equipment. Now, if you guys have been in my class, you pretty much familiar with all the names of common items, common kitchen items, right? Name, pot, right? This is a sauce pot. This is actually a ceramic. There's metal on the outside, ceramic on the inside. These are great for any kind of tomato sauces, anything that has a strong acid in it. If you're doing like any kind of vinegar reductions, these are really good to cook in. Stainless steel. Right, this is a stainless steel pot. This is an enamel pot. I do like to prefer these at home. These are not really good for kitchens, commercial kitchens, because if you chip it or dent it, it will start rusting. So it's really much better for a household environment. This is perfect for a kitchen, a commercial kitchen. It's stainless steel, made a little mess there. It won't dent, it won't break, it won't rust. It will do everything you want it to do. Good for tomato sauces, high acid items. High acid, once again we're talking like vinegar and tomatoes. So the 2 things I think we should really focus on as a high acid items, and they will last very well. I have no aluminum cook pots. I really don't. I don't believe in them. I don't use them. These are mixing bowls, right? They are, this is a bowl. And these are bowls, right? This is, actually probably this would be called a cereal bowl, this would be a soup bowl. If, in a restaurant term, like, so give me a bowl, what, mixing bowl? Cereal bowl? Soup bowl? What kind of bowl you want? So, I mean, they have names. I mean, in the kitchen, like large, small bowl, like you're at home type of thing, but there are names for these. And we would call this a cereal bowl, the smaller one, and the larger one a soup bowl. And you see them side by side, you can see there's quite a difference there. But they're bowls anyway, they're all in the same family. Aluminum still, yeah, this is stainless steel. You can do hollandaise and mayonnaise and anything acidy in this is fine. Don't cook in these bowls. If you look at school, sometimes you see burn marks around here. Like somebody's using like a Chinese wok. Wok, yeah. I don't have a wok either, but I think you know what that is. The big Chinese cooking bowls. So, but these are not for cooking. Once they get hot, they lose their stainless steel and they start rusting. Rust is nok in Korean, nok. You start getting nok on these. So, let's get, these are for mixing, they're not for cooking. And you'll see at school, you look around, you see quite a few of them like that. The next pan, you gotta excuse the little flour on that one. This, I would recommend, I have in the past many times recommended to school, purchase stainless steel pans. You go, they're expensive, the students, these will last forever. I worked at one place that we had not stainless steel, but iron pans, steel pans, that were over 50 years old. They bought them 50 years ago and they're still perfectly fine. Food will not stick in this if you do it properly. And I'll give you a demonstration on that one too. But these will last forever. You could use a regular susemi, a scrubbing pad on it. You can use a regular one on it. They got to the store, like chainmail armor for cleaning. It cleans it, that's for sure. This will last forever. But this is actually not fine enough for good cleaning. It's good for really getting big stuff off. But when you talk about really fine cleaning, it does a good job and it lasts forever. I never used it commercially. I'd never seen it before. I got a Lotte. Lotte Mart had that. And I saw that, I go, oh, that looks like, chainmail armor. You get enough of these together, there's a little fashion action going on there. It's pretty cool stuff. It's pretty heavy. We call it, this would be a scrubbing pad. The same with something like this. Now, obviously, this one is for the coated pans, right? This is aluminum underneath these. And this has that Teflon coating, and you need to use something like this on here, because this would kill it. You know that. I'm sure you all been there already. You already realize that. And if you look at like my spatulas, well, we'll get to the spatulas later. We'll talk about that. But you always have to use plastic utensils on this. Plastic utensils. That's a new word. You have knife, fork, spoon, gukcha, ladle. They're all utensils. You have to use plastic on that, right? Where these, once again, can take a lot of abuse, a lot of beating. You can overheat them. They last forever. This one has a slight curve in it here because it has been overheated. Any pan that gets too hot will get what we call a dome, a high point on it when they're overheated. This because it happens. So it does happen. It doesn't affect the pan per se. It still works just as well. That's to say the least. And once again, if you look at the slopes on here, right, they're a little different, but these are both really fry pans. And the difference between a fry pan and a saute pan, which I don't have any saute pans, which is interesting. This one might be the closest one to it. A saute pan this is because of the slope, the angle on it. If you look at the angles here, sautoir, sauteuse, sautoir, sauteuse. There's French names for it. But anyway, Well, English and Korean, fry pan. This would be a saute pan. See, the angle on this comes out a little more. And a good saute pan is much lower. Because when you're sauteing, what's the key points of sauteing? Number one, what? Hot pan, little oil, and a short cooking time. Right? So once again, we'll do a demonstration on some sauteing and use the terms. That's the idea. That this class is all about vocabulary. Talk about vocabulary. This has a slight slope to it. So when you're sauteing, because sauteing is a dry cooking method, like grilling is a dry cooking method, baking is a dry cooking method, roasting a dry cooking method. Some wet cooking methods. Can you name some? You should be able to name them all. Anyway, not that many. Steaming, which you use a lot in Korean, mandu and things like that. Blanching, which I guess you do an awful lot in Korea. Most of the side dishes, panchan, you do blanch those. And blanching is what? How do you blanch? Boiling water, short cooking time. In the West, we always blanch with salt, too. That's another thing in class. I have you guys always like we're cooking pastas or cooking anything like that. Even though pasta's not blanching, pasta's boiling. That's the only thing you really boil in Western cooking. You don't boil stocks, well, do you or don't you? No, of course you do. For a minute at the most, just to kill the bacteria. But that's the only time you really boil. It simmer for a lot of the times. So once again, sauteing is a dry cooking method. Wet cooking method, I'm sorry, let me finish the list. Steaming, boiling, blanching, poaching. Okay? Then you have combination of braising and stewing. But those are combinations because generally you brown first and then you add a liquid. And the liquid's usually stock. So there are a variety of different pans. And in school, I don't have like a typical, this is not a school pan, but this is a typical school pan, a typical size. And once again, this is a little too large for most of the cooking that we do in class. This is wind's kicking up. This is a pretty large thing. The problem when you're sauteing something like this is that yes, sauteing is a dry cooking method, but as it cooks, it hits the sides and runs back down. That's how you get all that splatter. That kind of thing. Where a slope-sided saute pan will help, and once again, if it's lower, will help release that water into the air. So it's not dropping back into it. Because that has a tendency of steaming. And we want a dry cooking method. So there are definitely specific pans. I will look around. I have looked in the past for a real saute pan and a crepe pan. Crepes, because we do crepes a lot in the French cooking, and I love crepes. Crepes you can stuff anything with. Well, you can do crepes. I got some eggs, I got some flour, we can even do crepes. We can do a lot. I got some tortillas too. We made quesadilla. Quesadilla? Is it like the Mexican sandwich with the cheese? And I'll make some. We'll make some. Once again, the idea is to get the vocabulary down so we understand that we're speaking the same language in class. Water again. So once again, at school we have these pans. They're coated pans. They're aluminum based. They're cheap, and that's the reason why school goes for that. Where a good stainless steel pan, you could probably buy 4 of these for one of these. But one of these will last forever. Like I said, at one place we worked at 50 years old. They never had to buy new ones. They put a set and that was it. School, every semester we buy a pan. So in 2 years, it's the same price as a whole set of these. And a whole set of these will last much, much longer. When you guys are the chefs, you're going to be making decisions. Your decision is going to be purchasing. And you're going to say, well, the guy goes, well, here's your budget, use it for this. Or use it for this. You say, well, if we buy this, we won't have to buy it next year or even next week. Because if you take a metal spatula, let me just move some things around here. All right, this is a spatula. If you use this on this, it's pretty much game over. Pretty much game over. You're going to scratch it and scratch it again. You can see, I can't really see that close. Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah. You can see here, I can't really, yeah. There's some scratches there and stuff. And this is a fairly old pan, but this is only household. You know, I use my plastic spatula. What knows where that is? There we go. I use this plastic spatula for this, and this steel spatula for this. So I mean, it works out both ways. You know what I mean? And I would think, you know, at home I have no problem with it. School might have a problem because you're gonna need both. You know, you really, a lot of times at hotels and restaurants too, we call these egg pans. Really, you know, we call it because they're usually used for frying eggs. Usually used for frying eggs. These are all-purpose pans at home. I bought this other one, but I really don't know why when I got home with it. This is really for frying. This is, you know, this you can put a lot of oil in there and things like that. If you've been in my classes too, you know, I'm always flipping things. And you can't flip with this because the angle is way too sharp. Where at least this has a slight curve to it. And you can see, you'll be making these decisions. As you're a chef, you can be buying things. You can see something like this. It's really hard to flip as opposed to this that has a curved edge to it. So once again, I saw this hanging. It was a good price. I go, oh yeah, let me try. But it's a really non-functional. I haven't used it that much. You can see it looks still brand new. I buy it because of wood handles, so they kind of, you know, match the decor, make it look nice. But that's an odd one. This last one, the frying pans. This is cast iron. Hear that sound? Magnet would stick to it. See, that's another way you can tell what you have is obviously by fish magnet, but it's a magnet. It will stick, and it shouldn't stick to this. Oh, it does. Oh, this is steel bottomed. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, steel cladded. This part here is steel. This part is aluminum. Doesn't stick. Oh. Doesn't stick on the inside either. They put iron bottom or steel bottom on here to help spread out the heat. Because aluminum heats really quick, cools really quick. And if you notice too, like you put like a piece of meat into a pan, it's a hot pan, goes, and where you don't get that with a steel pan because the thickness. The heavier the pan, the better the retention of the heat. This weighs a ton. This was my grandfather's. So this goes back at least 150 years. And it could even be older. As far as we know, it's my grandfather's. It could be my great-grandfather's. We don't know. It's a Griswold pan. I don't know if you can see the markings on it. Yeah, you can, kind of. Look that up. That company has been making, this is like one of the things I took from America. When I came in on the airline, I think, what? Yeah, sentimental value. But this is great for almost everything you do, and especially like caramelizing onions or so long cooking times, frying, all that things. But once again, this is iron. This is just iron. This is stainless steel. This will not rust. This will rust. So these pans take a lot of care to keep it that shiny. And the more you use it, more smooth this gets. That it is like a non-stick pan. Things will not stick to it because of the carbon buildup of it. Let's see what this food magnet does to my new. Yeah, these are aluminum pans with metal bases on them. Metal, I shouldn't say metal, with steel bases on it. It won't stick on that end. It won't stick in the ends. It won't really stick in the center either. The third pan, I'm sure you're going to get the same result. That it will stick here, but it won't stick on the sides. So these are all aluminum. This one, obviously, stainless steel will stick to. Anywhere it will stick, and it stays on. It's a good magnet. It stays on. And I never tried it with this. Now this is metal on the inside. You can see I did have a little chip here. A little chip from, just, well, it's pretty old. It's not that old, but it's 3 or 4 years old. So I use it a lot. Should stick. Of course it does. But this is like a porcelain coating on here. Porcelain's like the same thing the sink is made out of. Toilets. Sometimes bathroom sinks. You create a lot of plastic. Bathroom sinks are plastic mostly. It's same with. Let's stick on here. Because underneath there is a metal thing, but that has a very thick coating on it. So it sticks to that. Like I said, once again, this is a saucepan. This is a saucepan. Oh, I know why I got this pan. Where is it? Oh, it's the third pan. Oh, it's over there. Stay. This one, it's not clean. I haven't cleaned it. You can see some oil in there. But this, all good saucepans have these little lips on it for pouring. Right. So this one I do a lot of sauce making in, because not just because of its small size, it's rather, the same size as this. It's just a little smaller. It's the same, it's a little bigger diameter, but it's pretty much the same, and it's nonstick. I usually use this for frying up small amounts of meat and stuff for Leon, where Leon's out taking a walk right now. But this has a little lip for pouring. So this, in essence, is a true saucepan because of that. And a lot of times, if you see like French kitchens and things like that, these really, really small pans that are obviously I don't have an example of it. But little pots, really for making like a beurre blanc, a butter sauce, where you do a vinegar and white wine reduction, and then you monte au beurre, you add butter at the end, make it like a classical butter sauce. And usually they're one-shot pots, and so made much smaller. So even in my house, looking around, I do have an awful lot of pots. Like this is probably Mag will stick to this. This is coated ceramic style once again. I do kind of like that. It does have, first of all, has a nice look to it. Commercially, no. Commercially, you would not use this type of pot because it will, even though the advantage is flavor and heat retention, it's much even heat. Heat's much even. The aluminum pots we have at school, I wish I had one here, are horrible. They're horrible. It's because they're very thin aluminum. It gets really hot here. It gets cold here, unless you turn it up really high, where it only gets hot here and it doesn't really get warm there. If you use them enough times, you realize they really, really do not work out really well. But they do something like this at home. I do enjoy using this better. It has a cleaner taste. It doesn't get discolored. It doesn't change flavor or anything like that. Let's see. Back then, stainless steel. Oh, once again, this will last forever. This will last forever. The aluminum ones too. I don't know if next time I get into class, I'll show you. You'll see the scratches around them because even if you use the plastic, use these plastic things. How we clean them and stuff like that. You're using a lot of things to stir and spoons and things, and they end up scratching it. And aluminum is a very soft metal. It is very soft. I mean, you can scratch with your nail. You can take it, you can actually leave a mark in it. So you can imagine how that changes your food taste. Now they say aluminum doesn't really affect your brain, which they're saying this might. The coating on this might. There's some issues about that. Something like this will, once again, if it's made well, this is. I don't know if this is necessarily the best way. This is welded together, which is welding's generally pretty good. This pot itself is my own personal pot of the 10 years old at least. So I use this for a lot of cooking, an awful lot of cooking. So the handle hasn't broken yet. They generally don't. These are riveted handles. Rivets. Which is a sign of a better pan, by the way, because this has rivets on it too. These are called rivets. So once again, they might be a problem, but welding generally is not the best. It's smoother on the inside. There's no buttons, right? But this can separate. They can break off. This one hasn't. I don't see it really ever falling off at home. Commercially, once again, you have to make that decision yourself. You'll be the chef. You'll make those decisions. It's a stainless steel pan. Fine. This has a nice slope angle to it too. I really enjoyed working with this one. Let's go back to the iron pan. That goes down first. Iron pans have to be dry too. You always have to. I spilled some water in there. You can never put these things away wet. They have to be dried and oiled. But once again, pancakes, any kind of griddles, pajan, not pajan, yeah, pajan, the pancakes, the Korean style pancakes. Something this thick and heavy holds the heat quite well. You know, we try the ringing sound, right? Like a bell, flat. What we got here? Like knocking on wood. So you can hear the difference too in the metals. This should have a ring to it. A little ring, not much. Pretty flat. But compared to the iron, you hear that has that ring to it, like a bell, like a bell. Okay, put it back in order, size order. So I bought, you know, you can see the sides of this is very, very steep. But this has a nice little slope to it for flipping. It's much easier. Put it back in size order. This is a good universal pan for at home, this size. Too big, dries out. Too small, steams. But something like this is good. Even in school, like I said, the pans at school are just a little too large for a lot of Western style cooking techniques. And then the stainless steel pan. Not much a ring for that. So pans, bowls, sharpening steel, spatulas, you know, coming up on 30 minutes. We would probably take a little break at that. We do have other styles. I mean, a lot of these are like housewife spatulas. I really like this one, only because it's large. You see, it's a little bigger. It gets underneath everything. It's very flexible and thin. So once again, you can't use it on a coated pan. You know, you can't use these on coated pans because you'll scratch it very easily. But if you use it on a stainless steel pan, right, you can get underneath it. You can get underneath whatever you have in there and to flip over. I kind of like that. These are all typical housewife style ones. At school, what do we have? Oh, we use the Namu spatulas, the wood paddles, which I don't even have one. I don't even use them here. You know, they use this obviously for the rice maker. This is for the rice maker. I use something like this. But the spatulas we have at school, like this, but wood, and they're very thick. They're very thick, so they're hard for flipping things. They might be okay for bulk and bop and stirring. Yeah, there's no problem with that. But for Western cooking, they don't work out really well at all. They really, and I'm kind of stuck using, you know, that in class because that's kind of what we have to use, that we have to work with. Spatulas, scrubbing pads, pots, pans. We'll get to strainers. I got a couple strainers, different style strainers too. I'll show you on the next one. Okay. Like I said, I was going through the class stuff, and you know, a lot of this is the vocabulary is what we really need to focus on. And I figured until we get together in class and we can start talking more face to face. And if you've been in cooking classes, you really should know a lot of these terms. You really should, because we've used them a lot in class. Okay, that's going to be a wrap for now. And I'll prepare step 2. Should I continue? I need to sell. I'm wondering if I should do A, B. I'm going to do like A, B, C. I'll do it that way. Just so you guys can take a break too. Okay, going to sign off. Thank you very much. And I'll see you at part 2. Mogi around here. Mogi. Downstairs doors open. I'll see you later.